Hello everyone and welcome back to the collaboration between Ben and Ben. We are going to continue our chess clock runner. It's gonna be the same matchup. It's just that I want to have another shot at it since I got prematurely terminated the last time as you've watched the video. So before we get into the second chess clock game though, if you don't mind, I'd like to take some time to wax lyrical about Adam. So during the entire weekend I was in entire week I was in Europe, I was jamming lots of games of Adam. I played it with the Swiss Netrunners when I was in Switzerland, and then when I moved over to participate in Charity Gift, they had a President of Servers, that's the team tournament, the day after where I played Adam for my team. On my team, Anarch and Criminal were already taken, and we couldn't duplicate factions for each side, so I was left with between the choice of playing Shaper, which I knew I would suck at anyway, or playing Adam. Even though Shaper is objectively speaking the more powerful as a faction than Adam, I decided to go I was comfortable with in a very aggressive Adam deck, and it kind of paid off. Who cares about the scoreline? It wasn't. I wasn't the most competitive player out there, but all that mattered to me was that I had a boatload of fun, and I had some massively fun games. So yeah, that was all good. So because of that, I got to play so many games of Adam, easily in the double digits. So this is kind of uncharted territory for me, at least in recent times, because typically, as you see on my channel, I only play any given deck for 2 or 3 times maximum in making my successful demo videos before tossing them away and moving on to the next deck. So being fixated on a single deck for so long is kind of a rarity, but it also means that I now have the street cred, I guess, to talk about Adam, since I've played with it quite a bit. So to begin with, I needed a base, like a cake base, something to work with before we began, and that was again readily offered by Worlds 2018. All I needed to do was hit up the top placing Adam deck from this year's Worlds, and that was none other than this deck right here. So I'd like to talk about a few certain card choices that were really inspiring from reading this deck list that I eventually incorporated into my deck. So the first thing is Ngolo. So previously, in older Adam decks, you'll see that the main breaker is actually Omakua, because you are running so early and often as Adam that Omakua just makes a lot of sense. It's the kind of breaker that you slap down early and gets more and more mileage as you keep running. It's a perfect fit for Adam. Adam really wants that one-stop solution breaker, because Adam doesn't run cards like self-modifying code or clone chip. He needs to be able to have a one breaker solution to all the ice out there, which Omakua kind of fulfilled. Then came in Ngolo, and it's like this breaker is just exactly what Adam needs. Ngolo breaks all ice in the game pretty much, as long as you have the money to pay for it, and you certainly do, because you're running 3 copies of Multi-Threader. So Multi-Threader very easily pays for Ngolo. In fact, it pays for it perfectly. The 2 credits to swap an ice to the code gate type is completely covered by Multi-Threader. So they have very good synergy right there. Making Ngolo cheaper is a very good way to make that breaker better as a whole, and Adam has that support for it. Adam also really needs that early breaker. Once you snap down Ngolo, you can start threatening HQ runs for double accesses, start threatening R&D runs for RNG key guaranteed triggers, and of course to guarantee that you can get into your opponent's remote, because you can convert any ice to a code gate. Ngolo is the perfect breaker for Adam, and as noted in the deck list description, it is almost always the first breaker you install, and it will carry you throughout the game. It works both early and late game, and you can afford it. The next card I want to talk about is Misdirection. It seems a bit weird to play Misdirection outside of Shaper, but it makes a lot of sense because Adam is incredibly vulnerable to hard-hitting news. Not only is he very susceptible to hard-hitting news, because he's he runs a lot very early on. So unlike other Anarchs or Criminal, for example, which tend to spend the early game setting up their breakers and their engine. With Adam, you cannot afford to do that. I've heard a very famous saying once that if you're not running turn 1 as Adam, you shouldn't really be playing Adam. So obviously when you run turn 1, you are going to risk getting hit by a hard-hitting news. The misdirection will really help to recover from that, because if you get hit early, you're pretty much going to lose, because your very vital directives are vulnerable once you're tagged. Having Find the Truth trash, having your Neutralize All Threats trash is basically losing your R&D and HQ multi-access respectively. That will make it very hard for you to come back from. So you need the misdirection here. Next one is 3 copies of RNG key, which seems like a very questionable include given that RNG key maxes out at 1. You don't need multiple copies of RNG key for it to enhance its full potential. But I really like the early consistency brought about by the 3 RNG key. As the deck list creator noted, it gives so much value. If you see it on turn 1, it's just so good because it opens up R&D as a viable place to run on turn 1, because not only do you get a single access, but you also come out richer after the run. It's basically like a dirty laundry on R&D, which is amazing, and it persists for the rest of the game. Symmetrical Visage, on the other hand, is a card that you only want one of. You don't really need the early consistency for it, because unlike with RNG Key, Symmetrical Visage is not a program or hardware. So we remember that Adam is running Emergent Creativity that allows him to trash multiple copies of, duplicate copies of RNG Key from Adam's hand, which is why it's acceptable to run RNG keys. It will not clog up your hand if you draw multiples, because you can trash them to creativity. You can't do that with Visage, which is a resource. So if you run multiple Visages, they can clog up your hand. And if you look at the deck list here, you realize that there are no cards at all that will clog up your hand, because hand clogging is very lethal for Adam. If you say you have a second copy of Visage stuck in your hand, you are basically playing with one fewer hand size, because it is taking up a slot in your hand that could have been a useful card, and that's really bad when you're playing with safety first. This prohibits you from getting card draw for the rest of the game, because it's just taking that one card slot in your hand. It effectively lowers your hand size by 1. Sure, you can overdraw and then discard the Visage at the end of your turn, but that's very inefficient, and you will lose at least one safety first trigger by doing so. So it is very bad to run multiples of unique cards in Adam that you cannot get rid of with creativity. So multiple brain chips, multiple multi-threaders, multiple RNG keys are fine, because you can rid of them if need be, but the same cannot be said for Visage. In the new meta, in the new system call where Cardi Jones becomes legal, there might be a consideration to run 2 copies of Katie, because she's so darn powerful. But otherwise, Visage is not on that power level. Still, it's a very reliable card, because as Adam, you'll be drawing most of your turns. A typical turn goes like click 1, draw, maybe even click 2, draw, then click 3 is install a card, click 4 is run, something like that. So, yeah, almost every turn, you'll get into the tempo of drawing basically every turn, because you want to pad out your hand such that you can play some cards, gives yourself some options, but still end up with few enough cards to trigger safety first in your hand at the end of your turn. So you won't be overdrawing massively on one turn and then just playing or running the next turn. So basically, Visage is a very good card in this deck. One off is perfectly fine. Finally, the Shadow Net is a card that I've been waffling on and off. I think I eventually swapped it out of my final deck, but Shadow Net actually made an appearance in this World's Tops Adams deck. He played it in his second version of Adam, which took over Australian Nationals and won him that Nationals event later on. So one of Shadow Net in Adam is pretty nice, because it gives you some late game sustenance, because Adam can peter out in the late game, surprisingly, giving yourself extra sure gambles, or a chance to recur Employee Strike against some of the nastier matchups like Mti Wekundu can really pay off. Not to mention as being a very strong tech card if you're expecting a lot of sports metal combo decks, for example. Shadownet can help you get out of those tricky situations. Right. So those are the key learning points that I gleaned from looking at this deck list. So I went to my workbench and created an Adam deck of my own, which looks something like this. Now let me go through some of the final details, some of the things that I changed, and some of the more important cards to keep in mind when playing as Adam. Firstly, you'll notice that my Sentry Breaker has changed. Instead of playing Golden or Ika, as with the Australian Nationals Adam, I went with Fem Creativity instead, because this combo is just too good in my opinion for me to pass up on. Because you're running Ngolo as your main primary breaker and Logic Bomb as a get out of jail free breaker, you don't really need one size fit all Sentry Breaker. So Nanot K was definitely a Sentry Breaker I was considering, but in the end I decided, you know what, we are gonna play loose and fast, we want to try to win early, so why not just play Fem? Because Fem is not a very good Sentry Breaker. You never want to use it to break big sentries, but in a pinch, it offers you just so much AI value, right? It's basically a pseudo AI breaker that, just like Ngolo, allows you to bypass basically any ice in the game. So the ability to just instantly place pressure on the server once you have both Fem and Creativity in your hand is just absolutely huge. A Fem in your hand is worth a Fem on the table, and having a critical mass of get past these ice cards, having 3 copies of Logic Bomb plus 3 copies of Fem, allows you to threaten so many things in the early game, and it really isn't safe as the corp to score agendas early, which is exactly what you want to threaten as Adam, because that means all the agendas are ripe for the picking in HQ, which means you can be more liberal with Logic Bomb and Fem on HQ. Speaking of which, Logic Bomb is an absolutely amazing card in Adam, and I am very liberal when it comes to using Logic Bombs. If I see it in my opening hand, there's a very good chance I'll be plopping it down and running HQ first click, using Logic Bomb to get past whatever ice there is. It's not even necessary that I follow through with the Logic Bomb. If my opponent reses something like a Thimble Rig on HQ, for example, I'm gonna save my Logic Bomb and get my Ngolo out next turn and then siege HQ. Logic Bomb allows you to poke ice with impunity without worrying about the face check punishment, and this forces the corp to res the ice. If they don't res the ice, they just give you free passage into HQ without you needing to expend your Logic Bomb. So they're forced to res the ice, and if it's a big ice, something like a DNA Tracker, something like Fairchild 3 for example, well, you come back with the Fem Creativity next turn. That's the weakness of Fem. Some decks aren't aggressive enough to make full use of Fem, because by the time they are all set up, ready to install their 9-cost Fem, the opponent's ice is unresed because they haven't been running. And you only want to install Fem on resed ice so that you negate their, you force the corp to invest a lot in an ice that gets easily bypassed by Fem anyway. So many other decks can't really leverage on Fem that well because they have no way to force the corp to res ice. Adam, on the other hand, is the perfect runner for forcing ice reses and then abusing the Fem Creativity combo to nullify a huge investment by the corp by bypassing their ice. So yeah, Logic Bomb, Femme Fatale, 2 bypass cards going very well hand in hand. I know what you're thinking at this point. This deck is super weak to Anansi. And yes, that is true. I spent many days racking my brains trying to find a way around Anansi. At the end of the day, I decided it's not worth teching against. I know that Anansi is played in many Jinteki decks nowadays, and I'm willing to eat the 3 net damage or, pay the iron price using Ngolo. There's just not much you can do about it as Adam. It's a very hard counter, but so be it. Sometimes you can't worry about every single ice that exists in the game. You just have to make do with what you have and hopefully rush out and win the game before the corp can find enough Anansis to punish you. Because at the end of the day, they can only put Anansi on a single server, so you simply attack the other 2 servers. That's how you play around Anansi. It's the only ice in the game that really hoses you. Most other ice can be passed easily one way or another. 3 copies of Multi-Threader is pretty much a staple in basically every Adam deck. It has so much flexibility from early to late game. Early game, it's creativity fodder, but it's so good. You know, compared to something like data folding, pay 3 credits to get 1 recurring credit a turn. Multi-threader doubles that value, and you are going to be running most of your turns. So multi-threader just gives you so much value over the course of the game. I can't stress enough how having multiple multi-threaders installed basically allows you to bypass an ice for free every turn, basically using Angolo, because it just pays for itself and then some. Because multi-threaders payout is so incredible, I actually find myself not pitching multi-threader to creativity in the vast majority of games. I would rather hold back the multi-threader and install it at a later time rather than to get the 3 credit discount from creativity, because it's a card that you much rather have on your table than in the bin. And with Brain Chip anyway, you can afford the memory to have so many multi-threaders. It's an amazing card, one of the very few economy cards on the runner side that actually pays you 2 credits a turn. Yeah, there are really not that many runner cards left out there that give you such a high drip payout. And that's one of the attractive features of playing Adam. Now, I know that a lot of you are into the system core metagame now, and so this deck is actually illegal because we're running 2 restricted cards. Employee Strike was our former restricted card, but now Paperclip's also on the restricted list, so this list is kind of illegal. That being said, as I'm sure most of you know, all you really need to do is swap Paperclip out for Corroder. This is actually quite a big loss because Paperclip is substantially better than Corroder against multi-subroutine ice, but also because it synergizes very well with creativity. You usually, if you draw Paperclip early, you send it straight to the bin with Emergent Creativity and get your Angolo out for a 4 credit discount. That's a huge combo that you can't do with Corroder because you can't send Corroder to the bin. That being said, you do free up 1 influence because you're running the 2 influence Corroder instead. You can run a Stim Hack in its place as a 46 card, and Stim Hack is actually very, very nice in Adam. A lot of games I do find myself actually too poor to make runs through remotes, especially if I need to make multiple runs. Maybe a Logic Bomb can get me through 1 run, but I'll need to chalk up the money to make a 2nd run, and that's where Stim Hack comes in clutch. You don't care about the brain damage because you're Brain Chip. So Stim Hack is a lovely card to have and can potentially offset the increased cost that you incur from running Corroder instead of Paperclip. So those are the changes I'd make. I think the rest of the deck is basically legal post system core. In fact, it might actually get a boost because now you want to run 1 or 2 copies of Katie Jones as more economy, replacing cards like Shadownet. Yeah, I'm sure you can find some cards here left and right, and you know, it'll be a nice Adam deck even in system core days. So let's see this deck in action as we bring it for a 2nd chess clock game. Enjoy the entertainment.
Today I start with 5 credits because it's my birthday.
Oh, I should arrange my credits as well, now that you mention it.
I keep.
I will also keep. Alright, whenever you're ready.
Okay, cool, let's go. Mandatory, yep, thanks. And
oh,
Celebrity. Enigma, IPO, Preemptive Hedge Fund, and Vanilla.
Vanilla, cool.
That's good.
Last click.
And then IPO on the last. So that's 5 from IPO, and that's
okay. Click 1 install RNG key. Click 2 install Toning View.
Pay 3. And that's
click 3 is run R&D, find the truth.
Yep.
Calling 8 for Anansi.
Yep.
So I'll get 3 from RNG key. There is now an agenda, so I'll get a Toning View counter. Time continues.
Yep.
Logic Bomb, end of turn. Go.
Okay, mandatory. Drop. Install. IPO.
Okay. Start of turn, click once, draw.
Mm-hmm.
Laundry. Click 2 is the laundry HQ.
Find the truth.
Find the truth, please. Okay. Access 2 cards. 1, 2.
Vanilla and preemptive action.
Time continues.
Mm-hmm.
Click 3 is draw.
Yep.
Click 4 is run R&D. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Res Anansi.
Shit.
You can logic bomb it.
I'll still take that damage.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what it is. Are you?
That was a very big mistake. I get 1 turning wheel counter from the HQ run.
Mm-hmm.
Logic bomb.
Yep.
Damage.
This survives. The other one. Oh. ShadowNet, Engolo, and Emergent Creativity. Yep.
Jack up.
Mm-hmm.
Carry on.
It's okay. Yep. So mandatory. Then wait, did you access the card?
No.
Okay. Draw. Open your remote and hedge fund. Done.
Click 1 is draw. Early laundry.
Mm-hmm.
Click 2 is draw. Earthrace Hotel. Click 3 is install logic bomb. Click 4 is install Earthrace Hotel. Go.
Wow, holy lord. Mandatory.
Safety first.
Yep. First click, install.
Yep.
Second click, install on remote, paying 1 credit for the ice. And then third click, credit. No, third click is in advance. Your turn.
Start of turn, Earthrace Hotel. Draw 2 cards. Earthrace Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Daily costs. Click 1 is Laundry Archives.
Mm-hmm.
Pause.
Yep.
Find the truth.
Yep. Oh, sorry.
Okay. 5 credits from that. Time continues.
Mm-hmm.
Click 2, Career Fair Daily Costs.
Mm-hmm.
Click 3 is draw.
Yep.
Click 4 is install Liberator account. Safety first draw.
Yep. Career fair. Okay. Mandatory. Triple advance.
Mm-hmm.
Score. Nisei with a counter. Over to you.
Daily costs, Earthrace Hotel.
Yep.
Click once run archives.
Okay.
Find the truth. Okay. 2 is money.
Mm-hmm.
3 is money. 4 is money.
Okay.
Discarding 2 cards.
Mm-hmm. Mandatory. Draw.
Mm-hmm.
Install.
Mm-hmm.
Install. Over to you.
Daily costs. Earthrace runs up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One. 2.
Mm-hmm.
3. 4.
Mm-hmm. Mandatory. Okay. Draw. Install.
Whoops, sorry, safety first trigger.
No problem. Credit. Over to you.
4 of daily cost, 1 Earthrise counter. Click once, draw.
Yep.
Gamble, cast. So net gain 1. Last click is this.
Okay.
So that costs 3.
Mandatory. Credit. Last click. I was almost about to say sorry, but it's my time that's running. Credit. Discard a card. My turn is over.
Daily cost. This goes in the bin. Earthrise.
Yep.
Plus 2 cards.
Yep.
Click once, draw. Click 2 and 3 emergent creativity.
Should we pause for the search effects and stuff? I mean,
That's a good question. I haven't.
no, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just resolve these. That's fine.
Okay.
Whatever. That's
Okay.
fine.
Last click is money.
Yep. Okay. Mandatory. Double advance. 1, 2. Last one is preemptive action. 3 cards. Hedge fund IPO, 1 hidden card. It's being shuffled in. Over to you. This is out of game.
Daily cost. Daily cost. Click 1, Femme Fatale.
Yep.
Click 2 is run archives.
Res Harvester. Okay, fires. Discard down to 3, yeah. Yep.
Find the truth.
Yep.
Okay.
How many clicks left?
Click 3 is draw. Click 4 is run the remote.
Res Vanilla.
Break.
Res Enigma.
Break.
Yep.
Access. That's game. Steal.
Robocopter, you stealing it?
Yep. You can win.
Why would you steal it then?
I concede.
Why?
Yeah, I can't win.
You can't?
Yep.
No, you know that the
no.
So here's some
So
here's some insight as well. This was super weird because when you're under time pressure,
yeah, the time pressure cost me the game.
I did also weird stuff. Look, I installed a second Anansi in front of HQ.
It doesn't matter.
It does because I had a pretty safe hand.
No. So what?
I had
no,
to-
you
I
don't
was
understand what happened here. What happened was, remember my run on R&D here? So I thought that was either an Enigma or Vanilla because you gifted that.
Yep.
So I ran into it expecting you to end the run.
Sure.
So the Anansi killed my 1 breaker that I needed. because without this I can't play the rest of the game.
Fair enough. Yep.
I actually should have considered as soon as you rest the Anansi, but you know,
okay,
just play that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Because without that, there was no way I was going to be able to run anything.
Well, I guess we're getting better with time pressure.
Well, you are, not me.
No. I think I made a crucial mistake with. I mean, that Anansi was
not as crucial as mine. That's for sure.
No, I thought about I thought this I did consciously, but the one that I installed in front of HQ, the moment I put it down, I regretted it.
Yeah, sure.
Immediately, I regretted it immediately. I was like, why did I not put this in front of the remote? I cannot score at the moment.
Sure, but it doesn't really matter because there's no way I'm going to be able to steal your overcutters.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's do this again then.
It must be said that there are hardly any Netrunner games where a single misplay basically puts you out of contention for winning for the rest of the game. But this was the exception. If you have played with this Adam deck at all before, you would know just how important that one copy of Ngolo is in your deck. You really cannot afford to lose it at all because it does so many things. It's your code gate breaker. It's in fact your primary breaker. As I said, it's like the Omakua in 419 decks. It's your lifeblood, and without it, you just can't run often. Adam needs to run often to win because you're getting lots of single or dual accesses off of R&D or HQ respectively. If you're not able to repeatedly make those central runs to fetch agendas, you're not getting up to 7 points. So what you really should do is to install Ngolo as soon as you draw it in your hand. The exception, of course, being Scorpios matchups, I suppose. But that aside, well, I mean, now that System Call is here, Scorpios is no longer a thing, and neither is Hunter Seeker. So you really should get that Ngolo on the table every time you draw it. It just didn't occur to me that I could have it blown out of my hand by an Anansi simply because of the time pressure. I didn't consider how important the Ngolo was until I lost it. As they always say, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I was very much missing my Ngolo this game, both literally and emotionally. So, an unfortunate ending to the this game. Well, I lost, but for a completely different reason from the first game. But hey, you live and learn. That's not the end though. We are going to go for yet another rematch because I'm still mad with fury, really furious with myself for making such a big misplay. So we are gonna go to a game 3 in the next video. Stay tuned for that. Until then, as always, happy net running. I'll see you in the next video.
Cool. You know what? Tokens would be absolutely fantastic. This is going perfect, man!